it also takes an hour. So kind of need to get home on time today, or close to on time. Um, yeah. So to start things out, I am just gonna open it up. You guys can ask questions. That's what we're here for, right?
I was just wondering about the.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Jay.
All right, bet. So, about the miner fuel, how much of it do you need to mine the base $10 to $14 a day? Because I'm confused as to. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so the base, in order to maintain the base rate, you have to have 100% miner fuel in the system, right?
Yeah.
The effect of miner fuel was reduced in response to the community, so that is been improved upon. Instead of affecting it by 90%, it only affects it by 50%. It's still an effect, but it's kind of like in the sense of, I mean, this is how I look at it when I'm thinking about it. It's like self-halving. So if you're in the sense of wanting to mine fully, that's fine. You just leave it there. If you need to pull something out, not a problem. You're just reducing things a little bit, right? So at any time, feel free to withdraw the token. We're not trying to say people you can't withdraw your token. It's more along the lines of rewarding people for holding it in longer. And yeah, that is the goal of the system.
So essentially, if you want to refill the miner, let's say you want to get your $3,000 ROI or ROI back, in order to get back to 100%, you'd have to put in like under the new scheme like $1,800 or something to get it back. Is that how it works?
No,
sort of, kind of?
not at all. So you don't actually have to put anything into the fuel, right? So if you just plug the miner in and you leave it alone for whatever month period people are saying you have to leave it for in order to achieve ROI for you, then you just do that. You leave it, you let it sit, it'll continue mining just as it always has, right? The only time it's reduced is if you were to remove the fuel. And then at that point, even though it's reduced, this is an example I use quite often, though it will never go up to 100% again, the percentage of health will continue to rise even after you remove fuel. The percentage of fuel will continue to rise even after you remove it because it's just basic math, right? So if I have, let's say my fuel tank is 99 size, right? I have 99 fuel tank size and I have 0 in my fuel tank. The next day I'm going to have, just to make the simple equation easy thing, let's say the next day I mine 1 MXC. So then I have 1 out of 100. So I've already gone up to 1% on that. I'm not saying it's a fast change, right? But the percentage does continue to increase. So let's say you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm pulling my ROI, right? So you pull your ROI out, it still mines at 50%. And then over time, that percentage will continue to rise as you leave it plugged in.
So a 10-month ROI would be a 20-month ROI. Well, not quite that because it's 50%.
You don't, as long as you don't pull it out for the 10 months, it's still a 10-month ROI
right.
if that is what's being done. If you do pull it out, then it is obviously going to be, a little bit longer. It'll be doubled. But it's just the same. Like this is the thinking behind how we did this miner health, is that we could have instituted like a whole network-wide halving and done it where we just say, okay, everybody's down half and just done it that much. But we didn't want to do that. We wanted to, like, I know the marketing sounds really cheesy on this and didn't come out really well and didn't sound really well, especially without this perspective. But instead of saying, okay, we're having everybody's token, we're going to have all the mining, it was like, okay, how do we make it so that people who want to support, who leave things staying put, who are going to support the liquidity in the whole network long term, these people, how do we reward them? And we were like, okay, then if people want to take it out, fine. Then we go through the halving and they can decide whether or not they want to go through the halving. But if people leave it in, then they receive a little bit extra. And so we could have swapped it around in a different model where we did the whole halving on the network. And then a few months later, we brought it in as a reward system. But yes, this seemed like a more, let's say, in foresight, it seemed like a simpler solution. In hindsight, maybe it should have been done the other way around.
Last question.
Go for it.
I was just going to say, I'm not necessarily going to do this. I would say 90% of the people would not do this, but as an option to make you guys look more flexible, before the project changed in the middle of the stream and unaware or whatever I was, I put like 10K into MXC to DHX at 2 years.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying I should be able to yank that, but I am saying that, and most people wouldn't yank it, right? But I'm saying that it might be to your advantage to say that people, because of the project's change, would be allowed to stake that into MXC instead, just as an option. I'm not saying most people would do it, but it would at least make you guys look like you had some flexibility in that area. So that was just a suggestion.
And it's a common suggestion. I've heard it quite often, and I'm not like I think it's a great suggestion and a great opportunity. I don't think that that's going to happen at this stage. I think what's the focus is going to be is to move forward on the future developments. And as I've said in a number of these conversations, the three I had last week as well, is I'm focusing on the foundation of mining to improve the entire structure. And part of that is also an improvement of transparency. So I'm going to go ahead and share this link here. I'm working on it. It's slow burn because I have a lot I'm working on. So I apologize for that. But if you guys go to this GitHub repo that I just shared in general, right? This is going to be a full developer documentation, which means everything we build will be documented here, probably even before it's released, right? So let's hope marketing is on board with that. But so everything is going to be documented there. So next thing coming out is device provisioning. I've been talking a lot about device provisioning. It's epic. It's awesome. And I personally believe, I mean, we've done a lot of searching in this, that it's the most, and this is the goal, the most secure LP-WAN device provisioning protocol ever built. And the goal is to keep the encryption keys out of the hands of the factories and the manufacturers. So we created a handshake that allows the encryption to be built between the server itself and the device, and the device is then provisioned with an encryption key from your phone. I think I have to look at the spec again, but it's quite really extremely cool, and it's been through QA about 3 different times. I'm being very careful on this, and it's going to be available first for people who know development because the API is going to be available first. So basically, the API is gonna. Oh man, the API is going to be available for developers to work with right when this rolls out. So there is documentation being built. The goal is to be more transparent. Part of this documentation is a developer blog that I am trying to. I can't promise I could do this every week because guys, I'm super busy. I'm about to hire some new people that will then take like 75 hopefully of what I'm trying to do, so I can focus really heavily on making sure this communication goes out, both managing the team and also making sure all these things happen. But a weekly tech blog post also is something that I have as a dream, where either myself or maybe some of the tech support engineers or the upcoming product owner will then write a weekly update on what's happening in tech to make that pretty clear for you guys.
Jeff, I have a question.
Yep, go for it.
When do you think that the mining for the next coin, which is Polkadot, now if I'm right, when it is going to be available, and is it going to have any effect on the fuel?
So that is a future thing, and as I've just said, that I'm looking at the foundations of mining, right? Which means that some of these future things that we were looking at doing a little more quickly will actually be, it might take a little bit longer, because with this release of the health, I've realized that there needs to be a different kind of level of transparency between the team and the community and what we're building in the community. And that level of transparency takes some time to get prepared and roll out, right? So what I could see with that is we might do a trial, sort of like the DKP, sorry. Maybe, but at the moment, I really want to just focus on the foundation of mining and improve on that, and then make sure that we have this transparent communication opened up before we start adding the newer items. I know it kind of sounds like I'm pushing things off, and I actually am pushing things off, but I want to make sure it's done right.
Decision, yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good decision. And
Thank
is
you.
there like a release date for the Bitcoin mining for all the M2 Pro miners?
I mean, it depends.
Like end of the year, maybe?
Maybe. I mean, that also is going to start falling. I mean, this test was already planned before miner health, right? But if I'm rehashing the foundation of mining, that also plays a role into how that functions, right? So the test was planned, so it's out right now, and we wanted to continue that because it's good for people and it's good for us to learn things with the test. But again, the full rollout of the multi-token mining, it depends on how we develop the model moving forward and how I roll things out to make sure that it's very clear how everything works. All the documentation's there in advance. That's really just the focus right now. And I know that it sounds like like my team's pretty small for the stuff we accomplished, to be quite honest. And I am working on massively expanding the team. And as the team expands, we can build more of these systems in with this documentation and making sure that there's people dedicated to that as well, which then allows us to speed back up on the development time. So maybe end of the year, but I'm not gonna promise to that date.
Hey Jeff, I've got 2 questions related to Bitcoin mining.
Go for it.
First, on this second trial, is it also going to be a 30-day test, or is that going to be longer?
I think. I think the plan is probably it is 30 days is the plan. But depending on the rollout of the test and how it's working and what we find during the test, right? I'm not going to hold to 30 days either, because maybe we find an issue and we're like, okay, we got to stop that and fix this before we continue. Or maybe, we don't find an issue, but we want to give it a little bit more breathing room, right? To see, okay, this is kind of working, but there's something funny, but we need more data. So there's a number of things that can happen during a test. I would assume that we'll stick with the 30-day test, but it's possible that it could be shortened and it's possible that it could be extended.
Okay. And then for the final rollout, is it going to be on a per miner basis or on a per account basis, the Bitcoin mining?
Ideally, it'd be on a per miner basis, but there's a lot of things that go into that to make that possible. So right now it's on a per account basis, simply because we're trying to keep things simple. But it would be ideally per miner.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely.
I have 2 questions for you.
Go for it.
Sorry,
I'm all ready.
Okay, first one is around, I saw in your weekly update about the tax downloads being rolled out. Will that also include DHX?
Not yet. It's strictly MXC, strictly to miners, but the foundation is now there, so it's going to be easier to roll out the additional tokens and the additional functions like staking and DHX mining.
Okay.
I have something on taxation case. In the USA, if you don't have custody of your wallet, I don't believe you have to be taxed until it's pulled out. And we don't have receipts, so supposedly we don't have custody of the address. In other words, in the old days, I would let that stuff accumulate on Litecoin Pool because I trusted the guy, and then when I pulled it out to my personal wallet, then that's when I was taxed on that day. So you might want to consider some kind of operation like that to get around the fact that you got to mine this stuff every day. Because the danger is if everybody mines high at the beginning of the year, and then at the end of the year the coin crashes, well, then you could be in a thing where you're mining in a tax hole. Just saying. So that's the question. The question is, do we have custody of the coin? Do we have custody of the wallet or not? Without the
it is a Kobo custody solution, right? It is a Kobo custody solution. It functions similarly to an exchange. You have a top-up address that belongs to you, and you have the token that belongs to you, but the seed is held by us. In order to withdraw, it has to have your authorization as well as authorization by the team here, which will at some point be automated, so it's only your authorization. The reason we have it as a set where it's 2 different authorization types on this is because at the early stages of developing the supernode, we wanted to make sure we had another way to check things in case something were to happen and somebody were to somehow be able to withdraw more money than they actually had. Sorry, more token than they actually had in their account. So it was part of the early phases security measure, but I do foresee that the additional check on withdrawals will fall to the wayside.
All right. If you guys have already incorporated this, then I just wanted to point that out, that was you don't own the address type of thing is how it works here supposedly now. And this is supposedly because we're muddy here about that stuff too.
Let's just ask your CPA or your accountant just to be sure.
Well, no, I mean, if they already are aware, then it's not an issue. If they weren't aware, then and they released this, they could have mucked it up. I should have just asked if they were aware of it.
So Jeff, to expand on that a little more, you said potentially down the road for DHX and then staking. Is that something that's a backlog request that could get prioritized in a future sprint? I'm just thinking more of towards end of calendar year when we start preparing our taxes for next year, having that availability would be really helpful. So I just want to make sure it doesn't fall off the wayside if it's something being considered.
Okay, so I can tell you exactly what's happening in our current sprint right now. We just had a sprint planning today, and over the of course, the last 6 months, we've had a lot of great ideas. We've started them and then had to do something else for priority, something else for priority, and something else for priority, and we have like maybe 3 or 4 things that have been started and haven't finished. So this sprint right now is to wrap up everything that we've ever started and didn't finish, which is device provisioning is included in that. It's actually been ready to roll out for about 3 or 4 months. We just haven't done it yet because we haven't had the capacity to roll it out and then educate and write documentation on it. So it's just like one of those things. And so that's one of those things. There's other stuff that we're trying to do contributing to the Data Highway project as well. Anything that we found on that. So if there are developers in this call, I'm going to say a call to developers to work on Data Highway. It is to be a DAO. It is supposed to be a DAO. It is a DAO, right? It means everybody can participate and help develop the future of Data Highway. So let me go ahead and send that here in the chat, right? Let me find this here. The Data Highway repos are all public. Everybody can look at those and see what's there. And one of the tasks for my team this week is to actually make sure that every single possible issue that we know about is in the Data Highway repo. So whether it's the node or the different apps that we have set up for it that they've been working on, right? So it's all to be in the Data Highway repo so that anybody can take on an issue and work towards that. Eventually, as the governance is built in on-chain, there are developer rewards built in on that so that if you take on an issue, you would also get a token back for developing that, but that's not built in yet. So kudos to whoever wants to take on that issue and build it in. Obviously, we'll continue building on it, but I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that it is open. Anybody can build on it and solve issues and work towards building up the Data Highway.
I guess a question on that note is there any movement on the peripherals that are going to connect to this network? And I think because for me, I'm seeing that if this project happens to tank and we have all these machines that can create a network, if there's already peripherals out there, if that's already there, it really doesn't matter what the price of the token is or how much you can take out or not take out or all that. If it has a use case beyond mining tokens, then you have the possibility of really having that investment work out for you.
Yeah. And that's where this device provisioning comes in place. There are peripherals that work on the network. There are some bugs with it right now, which make them not work so well, right? Which we're trying to roll out and fix. So with that, this device provisioning is really I'm really excited about it. It's a step forward in the entire way devices are managed on these LPWAN servers or LPWAN in general. And what we have then is Matchx is developing some really exciting, like super exciting devices that will go on these networks, right? So there's multifaceted approaches to building the network. There's MXC building the software, and that's going to be opened up very soon. So that you guys can look at that and participate and submit issues. I'm really excited to get the mobile application code out there. We're just doing a scrub right now to just double check that there's nothing that somebody at some point committed. It shouldn't have happened, but it's always good to double check before you make something public. And so that's being scrubbed. And once that's public, then instead of having those that are participating in the beta use the beta channels to submit bugs, they can go right into the GitHub and say, there's a bug here. Here's a suggestion. Here's how I would improve that. And then I can prioritize those directly through to the team. So with that, there is a multifaceted goal into getting the peripherals on board. We've talked with, Matchx has talked with a number of companies who are interested in the network, however, have been waiting for the network to be, big. And I know this is vague. I don't want to talk names in ongoing conversations because if they then drop out, you'll be like, well, you mentioned this company a while ago. And it's just not it's just not, it's not a good thing. So there are conversations happening. There are people looking to leverage the network. We do have ongoing contracts with governments, particularly in China, where we have provided test scenarios and actually have had miners and devices working in the city as a test scenario for a broader rollout. So that is happening. But when it comes to the future of the network, I can tell you that we're building these devices for the network. Or Matchx. I say we because I work on both sides a little bit. But Matchx is building the network to ensure, or rather, building the devices to ensure that there are state-of-the-art, amazing devices that are basically built to work on the MX protocol. And let me tell you guys, like I'm a super tech nerd. I love tech, right? And this stuff just geeks me. I mean, I'm just nerding out on it. It's that cool. Like, I'm gonna just say this and turnkey AI. It's blowing my mind. Like you want to text something, we'll have the AI stuff built for you. Scan a QR code and it just works, right? You've got that. It just works right there. Done. And it just blows my mind. I'm super excited about it, unbelievably. But I'll stop talking about that. More questions.
I kind of have one. Why it was a bit off for me when I was started to looking on MXC project because it was proof of participation, and at the same time it was speaking about the coverage, and doesn't like go together, because you can, as already mentioned, place them in one place and etc. Then after Jeff, when previous AMA was when you jumped off, it was continued talking with people, and what they found out that actually when we stake here, when we lock those MXCs, for example, for a year or etc., then it's very similar, like you are buying index fund stocks. So and I'm giving you money to invest somewhere. If you are doing well, you will the MXC token will go up and etc. So I see those two business different models, but maybe it was not clearly explained to the people. And for example, I initially wanted to expand network, but I don't understand why I need to stake those tokens and why I need to have that fuel and etc., which makes more sense if I'm locking that money that you can invest them and etc. So can you add something to this?
Okay, so I'll start with the proof of participation model. Looking at setting up networks, there's I talk about it like this, and I feel like I'm gonna repeat. If you guys are saying this is getting old, find a new way to say this, just let me know. But it's when I first started approaching companies with this whole idea of a publicly owned wireless network for things that anybody can set up and then other people can use it. The response commonly was like, sounds cool, would be fun to use it, doesn't exist right now, sorry. We can't, we're not going to work with, it doesn't exist. When it exists, come back and talk with us. Or rather, why would we set up a network if we can just pay for it? That was also something. And so we have this chicken before the egg issue, right? So do you have the network or do you have the devices first? Because people don't want to set up a network unless there's devices on it. And people don't want to, put devices on a network that doesn't exist. So what the proof of participation model is it's getting around that. It's saying, okay, no matter where you are in the world, if you're in Antarctica with no devices around you, if you're in the desert, if you're in the middle of the United States of America, like where there's absolutely nothing around you yet, you still are participating in building this network. You are still providing a useful service because you're demonstrating that there is coverage. Right? That's where the coverage comes in. You're demonstrating that there is coverage. So when companies are like looking at it like, oh, they actually have some coverage here, I can help expand that. Or maybe they're like, if you expand here, we'd be like super excited to do that. And then we go put out a call to the community saying, hey, we've got people saying that they want to put devices in this region, but we have no miners there. Does somebody want to try to put a miner there? Right? Like there's all these opportunities with that, but the participation is that if you have the miner, you make something off of it. I can't say that forever the exact something of what's going to be made, but there's always going to be something. It's always going to cover cost of that miner. in operation. Right. I know the miner's super low power, but we have a full interest in keeping you guys connected, right? We need this network for this whole movement to work. We have to have this network because it all starts
Can I
there.
interrupt you?
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
Can I interrupt you? Because understand the proof of participation, understand the coverage, and but I don't understand because the people will pick up that they don't need to do the coverage. They just need to stack them in one corner to get those participation monies, and that was the biggest thing which like turned me off. Because I wanted to, as you said, expand network, but without checking the coverage, you won't be able to do. And maybe if in the beginning it would be, okay, this part of payment you will get for participation, and this additional money you will get for coverage. You need to incentivize to expand those, not to put them in one corner.
And that's where the health model came in with the proximity. It's not deployed right now because we've had a lot of feedback on the entire health model, and like I said, we want to reevaluate that. But we are aware that we do want to expand the network. We do want it to be broader, but there are people that have bought in under the idea that it doesn't matter how far apart it is. And I understand we want to find a solution for everybody involved, because at the end of the day, the project is, it's the supporters that make the project possible. It's you guys. Without you guys, we would just be a bunch of guys in an office being like, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this? And that was what we were 3 years ago, quite literally. We were in an office, in a co-working space being like, wouldn't this be cool? And then we started building it. And then 3 months ago, all of you wonderful people started showing up and being like, and participating. It's been quite exciting for us, actually. But that's along the line. So I do see the need for the coverage, and I do see the need for the proximity. Just how it was originally designed might need to be reevaluated, and in that case, we just need to take another look at it.
But what about also the thing which I mentioned when staking and locking your MXC, because people dug in those wallets and the transactions, and they said that when people are staking from one
At this time, what's actually happening when token is locked is it's actually just sitting there, right? With staking, the goal for staking, and this is how it's designed to work, is that staking, actually the percentage of token you have staked takes a percentage out of the network fees as described by the supernode, is how it's to work. So as the devices more and more
down there and I touched that shit, knocked out the internet. Shit, I knocked out the internet. I knocked out the internet. Fuck. I have to go plug back in. I'm gonna plug back in the
parent and how the intent of staking is to be. There's a very old article. If you look into, I think the Google search would be how to launch a supernode.
That question was
where I actually outlined how the fees from the supernode are distributed among stakers and among different things, and a portion of that's then also burnt, right? So there's all this stuff was outlined about 2.5 years ago. So maybe we just need to create some fresh content on that to make it more clear how that actually works. But it's like a proof of stake model. It's literally just sitting there. There's nothing really being done with it. And in time, that will be going into just like as more and more supernodes come online. I mean, we used to have the goal to have 100 supernodes in like within a certain amount of time, but we've slowed that down because it's just not. We're trying to slow down, do things like step by step, the right way, in line, in order, to ensure the security and stability of the entire network before we just go all over the place with it.
And why it is bad if people don't stake and take that over? Because that fuel was implemented to keep people
fuel.
staked. Yeah.
So fuel and staking is different.
Why it is bad, not like taking that money out? Why it is bad?
Well, it's like I said before. It's basically what we're trying to do is find a solution, a revolutionary solution, and it hasn't been that revolutionary the way we've communicated about it. And again, I apologize that communication could have been much more transparent. But a lot of tokens or mining processes go through a series of halving over time, right? And the fuel in and of itself came in as a solution for multiple different factors. There's the halving token in the network, and there's also the, okay, how are we going to approach this revolutionary, or how are we going to approach this type of halving type thing? And with the fuel, it gave the opportunity to provide a halving solution that's decided by the community, in a sense of, if you pull it out, you're halved, right? And that's just the way it is. And that was kind of like, we're like, this is super exciting. It's never been done this before, but as we got the feedback, we're like, okay, maybe, all right. But that's the way it is. Well, it's not bad.
It's bad to take out the money.
Well, it's not. You're more than welcome to take it out.
Understand it, but it's a great thing.
But
you're more than welcome to take it out.
This token will still be in not in your wallet, but it will be in the exchange wallet. So it will be still in the network.
And that's go for it. I think it was Brian.
No, I'm just waiting for my next question.
All right.
My view is why is it not just simply staked at the long-term 2-year rate as you hold the stuff in the miner health? I mean, if the project's going to succeed, that probably wouldn't be that big a hit, would it?
You're already getting paid for, like, you're already getting rewards from having it as fuel, though. So why would you get it twice?
Yeah, that's a point too. I'm just saying there would be a lot less squeaking if it was like, we need the liquidity, guys, and we will, jump in here and we'll stake you for it. But maybe it's not possible.
Well, this is where it comes down to that communication point that I mentioned, right? If we had prepared all the communication, done it in advance, super transparently, I think this whole rollout would have gone much differently. It would have made a lot of sense to everybody. And you'd be like, okay, this is why they're doing this. Okay, it makes sense. It still would have upset a few people because change upsets people. I hate change personally. I don't like change. I'm not a change person. I like things that work. I used to think I was a change person, but I've learned things about myself in the last 2 years. Anyway, that's a bit personal. But basically, it would have. The key is, if we had communicated everything that I've talked about in these EMAs in advance, if we had the documentation prepared in advance, like I'm working on all future rollouts, then I think the reception of this whole thing would have been a lot better. And so for that, once again, I do apologize, but I think the key right now is to focus on the future development and focus on building out the network as intended, meaning we're getting devices on the network. Then we're going to be testing the downlink payments. It's actually already built in, just not activated. So we'll be testing that. And then we'll start working on, getting the devices in. The smart machine bidding, that's a huge project. Like, anybody who's read that white paper can see how big that project is. And at the initial launch of the devices, it won't be smart machine bidding. It'll just be a set fee set by the Supernode admin for that region. In the long run, though, then we'll also implement the smart machine bidding, and then you guys will be able to say, okay, I'll accept these ranges for my well-positioned miner, and these ranges for my not so well-positioned miner. And that also plays a role in encouraging people to position their miners really well, because if it's well-positioned, then it'll get more of those fees.
Hey, Jeff.
Maybe. Oh, sorry. Yeah, continue.
Hey Jeff, I think I'm the only Korean here right now, so can I just ask 2 questions?
Go for it.
Okay, so I've been here about from 2018, so I quite know a few of things about MXC, but I just have 2 questions regarding China right now. So the situation really shifted. So I just want your MXC's whole approach to the whole situation in China, but because like they're moving out miners, Bitcoin. I know it's not related with MXC per se, but like I'll just like to know. I mean, what's your stance, or like what's the team's stance, how they view it? So that's number one, and number two is so like we're working with Polkadot right now, but we kind of like a lot of people from Korea and etc. is like, hey, so you're working with Polkadot, what's the next step? So I think I haven't seen any documents regarding that. I'm not like a developer, but I just know that something's going on. But could you like try to just make it simple? Like what's going on with Polkadot? Thanks.
Yeah, so first of all, the China situation, I'm not really on the team for China. I'm less familiar with what's happening there, so I'm not qualified to respond or answer that question. I apologize for that. Like I hate not being able to answer questions, but me saying something about that would be me just making something up, which I never want to do in an AMA. So with the second question with Polkadot, there is the whole parachain thing, right? And this plays into this plays into the fun future things that I want to document really well before I start talking about.
Yeah, that gets really tricky because like I was like, oh, this is quite cool, but I don't get the picture of it because like I know some developers in Polkadot, and they give me but feedback about saying it's gonna take some time, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
I couldn't go deeper. Like, okay, what do you mean by more time? And they're like,
well, that's the trick.
Yeah, that's what they say. It's like it's tricky. Like,
yeah,
okay.
Well, they're developing brand new tech, right? They're inventing new tech. It's like inventing the light bulb again. It's never been done before what they're trying to do. And so basically everything we do is based on what they're inventing. And so our timeline is very much dedicated towards their timeline, right? So I know we wanted to do something last year, but then they weren't ready for it. And so we have to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And then when they are ready for it, sometimes then we're like, oh, we put that aside. We have, and now they, then there's updates that they've done. We have to readapt everything to fit the updates. And that just takes a long time too. And then they update it again. But it's an ongoing process. I can say that. And I hope to have some really cool documents coming out, I'd say in the next 3 to 4 months, to really detail what's going on with that and what the plan is with that. But like I say, I do not want to announce things at this point that are still in flux. I want to have the pure documentation and be able to talk about it when I have all this stuff for you guys to look through.
Right, thanks. I mean, the reason why it
will be nice to have like a roadmap, maybe,
exactly
of what's going to happen.
That's the tricky part.
Well, yeah, no kidding. Because what happens with a roadmap, right? What happens with a roadmap is I can tell you, I think we're going to do this then, I think we're going to do this then, I think we're going to do this then, right? But then something else comes in, or we have unexpected, or maybe Polkadot or Parity comes out with something that's different than what we expected it to be, and have to rebuild everything to based on that, right? It really just, I can give you a roadmap, and it gives you an idea of our direction, but the time in a roadmap is not static, right? It's very much dynamic. So I might say this quarter we're working on this, and we might end up working on it for 3 quarters because it just takes longer than you expect, or there's more issues than you expect, or maybe we don't have enough developers like we expected to, or there's so many factors that play into an accurate roadmap. So what I do plan to create is a direction, I'll call it a direction map. It's kind of like a roadmap, but I'm not going to put tons of timelines on it. And then maybe what we could do is make it so that as we move along on the roadmap, we can mark, have a different color and mark along where we're at in that process, so that you guys are aware of that. And that plays along with my plan to have everything that we do open on GitHub at some point, right?
That would be great.
Because then, yeah, you'll see the activity, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, Koreans are like asking, because I'm the only one who's like kind of like, they keep asking me like what's going on in the Korean group. I'm like, I can't give you a specific answer because anyways, I'll just look forward for the direction map, Jeff. Thanks.
Definitely. Cool.
Hey, Jeff, while we're on the subject of Polkadot, it looked like DHX and others were coming up for the Kusama auction. Did I see that correctly? And if so, is there anything that we can do to help it gain some steam?
I am personally not involved in the Kusama auction. If it is up for that, if you guys participate in it, obviously it will get some steam. Share it, make sure others are aware of it. That would work. I will say, I know this is not a popular thing, and I'm probably getting people are like, don't say that. But even if DHX doesn't make the first auction, there's a lot of other auctions coming up, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's not like, definitely push it. If it's in the first auction, then push it. Let's get it in. Let's get the slot, right? But let's just be realistic on that. If it doesn't make the first slot, there's still so many other auctions coming up. It's a developing network, and sometimes first adopters end up having more issues to roll out, right, on the development side. Like we were working with Substrate for a long time now, and then we had to rebuild it at least 3 or 4 times, right? Because you adopted too early.
Right.
And so
It's
at some
gonna cause a
point,
lot of issues.
yeah, at some point it's just like, okay, sometimes it's safer to wait and look and then jump in. That's what Apple does actually. They look at how every other, how Google and Android rolls things out. They look at it and look at it like, okay, that'll work, and they bring it in their version. I'm not going to say we're Apple. I'm not going to say we're going to function like that. But I think it's important to realize that even if something doesn't work the first auction, there's a number of other auctions coming up, and there's a lot of opportunity for DHX, especially as more and more people get involved with the DAO, with the development of the DAO, and especially when governance comes online, right? Once governance is online, basically the whole thing is set free, and anything can happen. It's up to you guys what happens with that project, right? Obviously, we will always contribute to the project, but anybody can participate. Anybody can, try to figure out a direction for it. And right now, even without the governance, all the stuff's on GitHub. You can go into the repo, submit an issue as an idea, read through all the issues are there, take on an issue, solve it your way, right? If you're a developer, and then you have your voice already, even without the governance, put into the chain, right? Like, it's still open for everybody to participate. If there's pull requests coming in from community members, people are going to love that, and it's going to move forward. We might ask people to go in and thumb up it or something to vote on that pull request to see if that's something that would be something worthwhile, right? So there's some sort of voting thing. I wanted to build a voting bot together for the DHX community. If somebody has a bot that we could do sort of like referendum in the community at least, so we can start working in that direction where people can make decisions together, that'd be kind of cool. Like just brainstorming here with you guys on how we can set that project a little more freely so that others feel like they're participating in it more, and it's not just a few people working on this project that's a DAO. It's supposed to be all of us working on it. Everybody who owns DHX is supposed to have an opportunity to put a voice there. Let's make that possible.
Jeff,
Cool.
Could I bring back the last time I misunderstood this? Why it's penalized staking? Because as I understand staking, it's like in stock exchange buying company shares. Yeah, I'm buying shares. If company is doing well, I'm getting dividends, for example. So right here, I'm staking MSC, as you explained, from transactions. I get more money. Yeah. But I always can sell the shares, and I'm not penalized there. But why here I'm penalized for taking out that money at that moment?
I mean, that comes into what I explained earlier. It was a multi-faceted solution where it comes into this whole halving concept. Like at one point, do you have a mining scenario? Like Bitcoin has it built in. A lot of different tokens have halving built in. In this model, wasn't built in from the beginning. But basically, it was a solution for that as well as a solution for liquidity. So there's a number of things that came together in order to bring the fuel in part. It's not meant to be penalizing anybody. It's meant to be an opportunity. And I know not everybody sees it that way, and that's fair. I'm not going to say believe everything I tell you. I don't expect you to do that anyway. But it is meant to be an opportunity for those that want to just hold on a little longer to be able to mine at the base rate that has been reported up to this time. That is the goal, is really we want to make sure that people have the ability to make these decisions. And it was really supposed to be this cool revolutionary idea that allowed you guys to do that. But obviously the communication around it was unclear and that caused problems. So once again, I do emphatically, like I've got so many things from so many different directions. I emphatically apologize for that. And we are working better on that communication moving forward.
I can touch a little bit on it as well, Jeff. So like, just remember that, you know, our base rewards are kind of like, if you have, 100% miner health, we get the 10 to 14 a day, right? But as, the price of MXC goes up, we get less and less tokens. And that's not the same with staking, right? So technically, if the value of MXC rises and you put your MXC towards staking, like you could come out on top if you have enough MXC. So that's a thing to look forward to for the future. MXC is fairly inexpensive right now, but as MXC, grows in price, so does, the potential with things like staking or other, MXC generating earning methods. So that's why staking could be more profitable in the future as opposed to right now. I do have a question from Telegram from Monarch. He was asking about the IoT data market, and when do we have like any timelines on when we might try to get that online? Because I know, like you mentioned, that you're wanting to start testing some of those features. And I know you don't want to promise times, but do we have
definitely
kind of, like?
Well, this is the thing. This is the process. Before we talk data market, right? We have to talk devices, right? So device provisioning is the first step in all of this. And on our network, device provisioning may end up being the required way to participate in the network because it is more secure. And it helps us ensure that the security of the data and the reliability of the data coming through those devices. So device provisioning is the first stepping stone. From that, we're going to be working on providing methods for the data to come out of the supernode. Right, there's MQTT that's coming up, right? That is going to be updated and released so that each user can have their own MQTT connection with the supernode to bring the data into whatever tool they want to have it in. Then we want to create a turnkey data visualization tool so that people can see their data and analyze their data. And then once we have the tools to manage the data, analyze data, then we can start rolling them out in a marketplace. Now that's where Data Highway comes in, right? Data Highway focuses on the marketplace. And so what we may end up doing is linking through chain, because Data Highway is parachain, and we could try to connect through that with the Data Highway to transfer the data and use the market being developed on that. So that we can kind of co-build both projects, sort of help both things out. So that's kind of the direction I see things going, is that the interchain data market may be hosted by Data Highway, and then we'll integrate with that to be able to build it out as a whole. And then, like, this has always been my dream from the beginning, is the data market's going to be epic. People can access the data direct from a sensor, get live data feed from sensors of their choice. Sensors can gain reputation in the market of being reliable or not being reliable. People can buy data sets as collected by sensors from the market, and this is going to come really big and handy in for AI developers. And then people are going to be able to, build new complex applications with premium subscribers based on the data coming through this data market. Like, there's so many different things that we didn't understand 5 years ago that we now understand today because of the data we've been collecting as a human race. And as that continues, and as the data becomes more readily available to more and more entrepreneurs or scientists or individuals trying to just understand the world a little bit better, then they're going to be able to come up with these concepts and ideas that we can't even think of right now. So what I say, cool, you could build weather sensors into cool weather apps that are really down to the block of a city. In New York City, if every apartment building had a weather sensor on it, just imagine the amount of pinpoint accuracy you would get for when it's going to rain, or if there's a rain front moving across the city. This is my dream. If I'm riding my bike and I have a notification pop up, or maybe in my headphones or something, if I'm wearing headphones that people can hear. Okay, fine. These Bose sunglasses, right, that you can hear everything around you but still play some information. Let's do that. Anyway, so it tells you, in 3 minutes, if you don't pedal this much faster, you're going to get wet. wouldn't that be cool? I think that'd be super cool. If anybody here wants to develop that, like, I'll pay a premium subscription for that. Berlin, get the sensors out, develop this thing so that it tells me, like, there's a rain front coming at this pace towards you. You gotta ride this much faster if you don't want to get wet. I think that'd be epic.
Yeah, I have a question here. I heard you guys were like running out of MXC tokens or something. Like, how many MXC tokens you guys got?
Don't worry about that. Like, I know I can't just say don't worry about it, right? But there's an ongoing buyback. So as the tokens are put into mining, there's a buyback happening, and it's ongoing. There is, like I said, a revisiting of the entire mining process, and we're looking at different ways to make this more transparent. But like I said, what happens is there's an ongoing buyback that gets put into the mining. So with that, it's sustainable for a long time. Don't like that is okay at the moment. So don't worry about it at this time. There is some development happening and some conversations happening in order to improve this model to make it so that the buyback may be less necessary. But again, it's conversations. But right now, it's stable.
All right, I got one more question. Let's get serious now.
Go for it.
I have one miner, and a lot of people only have one miner. How can we get people excited to buy more and grow the network? Here's the answer. This white miner is really not for me. Maybe if you guys can come up with a black one or red one, get some new colors. You know what I mean?
So the challenge on that is each time we change the exterior, each time we change the exterior of the miner, you got to recertify it.
Or maybe just come out with some stickers in the box so you could change the color.
we got stickers. I thought of like a silicone cover that you could put on it. I've got some ideas that I've passed over to the merch team. Get a cool cover, maybe some cover with some ears on it. I don't know. Flashing disco lights, a disco miner. I have no idea, but these could be done. Of course, if there's flashing disco lights on it, it would be less power friendly. So there is that down trade off. But I mean, there is that coming, and we are considering if at some point there were to be a next gen, this is something that would be thought of. How do you make it funky, fun, cool like this? Also for the person, to have it in their home or on their balcony, whether it's this is the miner. I even one thing that part of miner health that didn't get put through that I was thinking of was that you could name your miner and it'd be like a Tamagotchi where it'd be healthy or not healthy, and you could feed it and you could do different things to keep your miner healthy, different activities to improve your miner's happiness. I don't know. That was the original plan with miner health, but it became too complex to actually build through. But this Tamagotchi type miner where you can name it this is Fred, your miner. Let's feed Fred. I don't know. It was an idea. But I think it's a great fun thing, and we are working to make sure that it's a little bit more fun. The merchandising team has been looking into that.
Speaking of customization, in terms of NFTs, I know in the latest AMA that C1 did, he mentioned that NFTs would be ready whenever he mints them, and he was looking at gas fees and some other circumstances on when might be the best time to do that. Do we have any updates on when those NFTs would be minted? At least the initial ones.
Not at this time. C1 is king of NFTs, so all information regarding NFTs probably come through him.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey Jeff, I got a question for you.
Go for it.
Hey, congratulations, because this is the second week in a row that you made videos or the weekly videos for us, which is cool to see. But also, you seem to be the communication between the support and all the other teammates. Were you provided a new role or something?
My role in this company has always been extremely flexible, right? Okay. I started as business development growth manager. I'm not in tech at all. I'm just really, I don't know if I'm clever or I just love tech so much that I do a lot of research on it and became rather good at it. But it was communication. My master's degree is from American University in DC in strategic communication. My undergrad is from Walla Walla in mass communication with a focus on public relations. Then I have minors in German and public physical education as well. You know, that's kind of my bread and butter. Is education was huge deal for me. So I love educating people stuff. I love communicating. And that's kind of where I started out. So if you look at all the early videos from MXC, they're all me, basically. Anything before January of this year. If you look at a lot of the blog posts that we wrote out early times, a lot of those are from me as well. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And then there was a transition phase in the company where I decided to move over to, or given the opportunity to move over and guide the tech. And I thought that was a fun and exciting opportunity. So the reason I'm back right now in the community is because you guys needed me, right? You guys needed me, so I jumped in. It's just what needed to happen. All right, that's what I'm good at the communication. I love talking with people. Like one of the like in a Scrum sprint, there's something called a retrospective where you reevaluate the process of the whole thing. And one of the common retrospective points is that I talk too much. So there's that. But I love the communication. I love talking with people and getting involved with the community. And you guys needed me, so I went ahead and jumped in and just did that. I took care of it. At some point, I have Latifa on board now. She is officially tech support, so she'll be doing a lot of the tech support, not as much me. And I have another tech support joining in August, who also assists with tech support. And so that'll help strengthen the tech support side. And I'll probably continue doing these AMAs because I'm leading tech, and so it's important to give you guys that insight on what's happening with tech. But as I get more and more people on board, I might have to step further and further out of the community just because I do have, the job that I'm supposed to be doing, leading and managing the tech team.
Jeff, I have a question.
Go for it.
I'm currently living in Europe, right? But I'm moving in Singapore next year. Which MP Pro should I get? The European version or the around the world? Now there's another one now for Asia.
Get the one for Singapore. If you're gonna move to Singapore, get that one. It won't work here though. This is the thing. The hardware is specific to the region, right? Because it has specific frequencies it works for. So what works here may not be legal in Singapore. Like it is something like that.
Okay, got it.
So that is that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. I'm not. So I mean, I can't say. I mean, you can decide which direction you want to go with that. Obviously. Remodel appealing to money miners. Cool. I can answer 2 more questions. I'm running out of time. I've made, I got to get home, take care of my family some, but let's get 2 more questions in, and then I will have to go pedal as fast as I can before the rain starts.
Jeff, just a quick follow-up. You said that you're not overseeing the China side. Who in the company does oversee the China side?
Primarily our CEO.
Okay.
Because he's Chinese, right? He has the best market insight on China, and he'll know best of what's going on in China. I've been to China. I've talked with the Chinese community some. I've been on WeChat translating everything they say back when I was in communications. Like, translate what they say, then I'd write back. They translate what I say. We'd have these funny chats. But quite honestly, it's a market that I don't have the time or ability to invest for the research in order to understand what's going on there well.
Okay, well, I would just make a suggestion that if MXG could put out some sort of statement, regarding what's going on in China, that might be really helpful to the company. So.
Okay, I'll pass that forward definitely, and we'll see what comes of that.
Cool.
I might have a suggestion as well.
Go for it.
Can you hear me? I'm on the bike again.
You're on the bike again. Gosh, man, you're just
driving with no hands.
Are you in? Like, I know I can't really ask this. You're probably not going to answer it, but are you in Berlin?
No, I'm in what's the nearest city here? It's Düsseldorf.
Oh, darn it. Okay, at some point, if you're ever in Berlin, send me a note. Let's grab a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah? Perfect.
Yeah.
I'll let you know if I'm in Düsseldorf at some point.
I'm still here, by the way, and I'm still listening and still reading and still trying to find out if that's good or not. I hope that's okay. I was looking for the. I was looking through the. Okay, this MXC is based on ETH. Is it on Ether?
It's an ERC20 token, correct?
Ethereum. Okay. I was looking around with my wallet to search for it, but there's nothing in it. I don't have tokens. I don't have a miners. No problem. But what I would like to know, and what maybe would be a good idea, is if you make the wallet that pays the miners, like just make an overview of everything you have practically. Do you understand what I mean? My English is failing again.
Maybe say it again. I don't quite get it.
I think he's asking if the wallet's tied to the miner payouts or remain transparent, like the wallet addresses,
Yeah,
so they could be audited by the community.
Exactly.
That's tricky because everything's done in the. That's tricky because of the custody solution, but I am looking.
Okay.
I'll just give you this insight. I am looking at a way that may make that possible, because I am focusing right now heavily. How can we make this whole system more transparent? So I am looking at a way that might make that possible, but right now it would not be technically possible.
Because if that would be like open, so everybody could search for it, then all those questions about what are the other tokens in that wallet doing there. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Because I found a wallet and it has more tokens in it, like other tokens than MXC.
Yeah.
And that's kind of curious.
Well, sometimes people accidentally send different tokens to
that's
the
normal.
ERC20 wallet, and then
but
also
that was like more than like an accidental send.
Oh my god!
Well, also because of the custody solution, like I don't know how Kobo manages things on their side, but my dream, just so you know, my dream would be to move away from a custody solution entirely. So that all of this is quite literally on chain and everybody can just look at it. That's my dream. Don't die. Are you okay?
No, just my glasses.
Okay, good. All right, but so right now it's not technically possible, but I am looking at ways to make it possible.
Yeah, that would be great because then you have full transparency where everything's coming and nobody can say it. But at the moment, it's kind of like we're looking for it, we can't find it, and then we can speculate.
Yeah, and the speculation is dangerous.
Yeah, maybe not. It's kind of funny to speculate.
Yeah, true. Okay, so yeah. So that's all my time today. I am doing this weekly. I will be back next week. So if you guys have questions, I try to jump into the community, but I was in the community a lot last week, and I gotta say my team suffered for it. So I gotta focus back on my team a bit. So the best way to get support will be to use the support bot or to send support at matchx.io for Matchx support. Then just working the help channel for MXC support.
Put that support bot thing, put that on the invoices and everything you can, because it's way easier to do there than just mail.
True. I'll pass that forward. How to get support?
Send out an invoice, put that in there, in case someone wants to send the miner thing.
I know somebody's listening in right now. I'm going to tell that somebody. Can you write a note on that? Thanks. All right.
Thanks, man. Thanks for your time, Jeff.
Definitely. Thank you, guys. I plan to be on again next week, of course, and I'll be online throughout the rest of the week as well.
All right, Jeff. Thanks a lot.
Have a great day. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
And sign me up for that train.
So
definitely.
As a reminder to everyone, if you have questions or suggestions, make sure to throw those questions in the general chat. The community can always help out with those. Any suggestions, throw those in the suggestions channel. But once again, thank you everyone for being